Hey guys, it's Wade here. Just letting you know that you can become a Patreon and help out the show. You can click just the link below in the description, or you can visit patreon.com/Sci-gasm podcast. This week's Sci-gasmic members shout-outs go to Frank Oleknowitz, Sarah Talk Podcast, Cheese McDouche Nozzle Esquire, Chemikillz Winnets, and Craig Porter. Guys, thank you so much for your support. We love you guys. Enjoy the show. This one's about Chemikillz.
Hey man, what's going on?
Oh, not much, man. Whoa, what happened to your front tooth? One's missing it. The other one looks like it's black.
Yeah, I think it's dying.
Why? Why are they dying?
I stopped brushing my teeth.
Why did you stop brushing your teeth? That's stupid.
Well, did you know there's actually fluoride in toothpaste?
What? Yeah.
Fluoride is a known toxin.
It's dude. Yeah, in huge levels though.
You know, there's also fluoride in water.
Yeah, you don't look well, man. Your lips are all cracked. What have you been... You don't tell me you stopped drinking water.
Oh, I drink Diet Coke instead now.
But haven't... don't worry about it. Let's get to it.
How hard this was to research and try and get the movie like I was doing work. I don't like how this is going.
Put your dentures in, Burn. Things are going to get a bit Chemikillz.
Will do.
So, what I was looking at today, and this is actually a suggestion before I start, this is actually a suggestion by one of our Sci-hole members, our Patreon members. If you want to become a Patreon member, you can get exclusive access to the group. We'll invite you into our secret underground Facebook lair, where you can offer us suggestions about episodes, interact with us, and a whole range of different things. Share information. So one of the things that we recently did is we put out a thing to our Sci-hole members, and we said, look, what would you guys like to hear about? What are some things that interest you? Any suggestions for upcoming episodes? I think we've got about 2 or 3 episodes that we're
grateful
recording.
to those guys. It's been saving us the legwork of thinking about stuff.
Exactly. So this episode was actually a suggestion by Craig Porter, who actually wanted to look at fluoride in water because of all the misinformation out there, and he just wanted us to might put a nice spin on fluoride in water, which he's going to be very disappointed about because I don't think we're that funny. All right. So I thought I'd start with fluoride in water. And then I thought I'd have a look at different types of chemicals as well.
So you took Craig's idea and just ran with it, then you expanded on it.
I expanded on it. See, it was a shitty
At least you gave him a shout
in the
out.
first place. It was a shitty suggestion in the first place. I'm like, you know
we can't
what?
get half an hour out of this.
Me, immortal, I'm going to actually expand it out and do 2 more chemicals. So, yeah, thank you for all the Sci-hole members with your suggestions. We do read them, we do listen to them, and, yeah, we thank you. If you would like to become a Sci-hole member, then just jump on our Patreon account and for just like less than like $1 an episode, and we haven't even started charging yet, so that's how nice we are.
Sneak in on the freebies while they're early days.
Yeah, that's it. So, alright, so I thought I'd go to fluoride, then I thought I'd move on to lead, and then I thought I'd move on to formaldehyde. So these are all kind of common chemicals that we hear a lot about. One being fluoride, so fluoride in water and toothpaste and stuff like that. Second being lead. So lead's obviously they've taken it out of petrol.
It's in batteries. It's all over the place.
Batteries, it's all over the place. You know, and if you do have lead-based paint, you obviously need to be very careful and all those issues associated with lead.
Mark.
And also as well formaldehyde, which is found in vaccines and a range of different things such as preservatives, biological kind of preservatives. So, you know.
All over the place. Well,
yeah.
Let's get the lead out, Wade.
All right. Oh, God. So I thought I'd start with fluoride. So according to Science-Based Medicine, I was reading an article that's run by the Skeptic Guide to the Universe, Stephen Novella. It's his website. But there was Dr. Grant Ritchie, and he was talking about fluoride. And it's kind of interesting because one of the misconceptions is that fluoride is a toxin. Okay, well, it is a toxin, but at levels that we're exposed to, it's actually it's poisoning us.
So in this case, it's not necessarily the chemical that kills you, it's the dosage.
Yeah, it's the dosage. So if you put too much fluoride in, then you can obviously have the effects. Now,
I bet your teeth look fantastic, though.
well, here's the thing, though. If you can actually get...
Shame he died, but gee, he's got a great smile.
Well, one of the things, though, is have you ever seen someone with spotty teeth?
Oh, yeah, I think so. You mean like the little white spots?
Yeah,
pop up on your
little
teeth?
kind of like, white spots and stuff like that. Well, that's...
I think I got one on one of my lower canines, actually.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, is that it? Somewhere there?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, so that's due to fluoride. Now, that's not bad. It kind of just changed the colour of your teeth. So,
I'm not going to die?
I'll go into that in a little bit later. You'll find out. Stay tuned.
What if I'm going to die?
Then you'll drop dead during the episode. All right, so... Look, we've been putting fluoride in our water supply for over 60 years now. Okay, we now add it to toothpaste and mouthwashes. All right, and we, we kind of we use fluoride. Like dentists will give patients fluoride treatments and stuff like that, and it all helps to prevent dental decay. Okay, now fluoride in water. Okay, they monitor the level of fluoride that you're exposed to. It's kind of like saying, well, yeah, but why do they need to monitor it? Fluoride, if it's not poisonous, it's poisonous, so obviously they need to monitor it. It shouldn't be in their water anyway if it's poisonous. But that kind of logic is flawed, especially when you come across things like, well, if you drink too much water, you will die.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a whole range of different chemicals. If you have too much of it, you'll die. Salt. If you have too
Dangers
much salt,
of dihydrogen monoxide.
Yeah, dihydrogen monoxide just being water.
That's a good point. Salt. If you have no salt in your diet, you will die. If you have too much salt in your diet, you will die.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one of the good things about putting these fluoride, treating water and other products that we use for dental health with fluoride is it saved billions of dollars in healthcare. Okay, so. And also just the untold pain, the sleepless nights and things like that. So it's not just I've got toothache,
really
got to go to
billions
hospital.
of dollars just for adding a bit of fluoride into the water.
Yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
Because if you look at like the health effects, so you go to hospital, okay, and you go to a dental surgeon and you get fixed up, and tooth decay. Tooth decay can be very expensive. We've both had our teeth done. Mm-hmm. It's an expensive kind of process. It takes a lot of time. Multiple meetings with orthodontists and even in this case dentists, and it's a
whole
very
raft
expensive
of health
surgery. Exactly.
Things come on from poor dental
And especially
hygiene
when
too.
you have things like in Australia where we've got Medicare, where you can actually go to a dentist and the government pays for it. Well, then it comes back on the taxpayer. So they do estimate that in the US alone, it's saved billions of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah, so the taxpayer saves billions of dollars. Now, this isn't just the US alone. Even in 2007, okay, the National Health and Medical Research Council, which is the Australian government, which is put forward by the Australian government, okay, they actually looked at the health impacts of fluoride in water. And I'll just quote this from the study. So this is what they've actually come out and said. So they looked at the research, okay, and they've had like a meta-analysis of all the research of fluoride in water, and this is what they come back and said. In Australia, community water fluoridation programs are considered a safe and effective way of reducing tooth decay across the population. Tooth decay is one of the most common health problems in Australia. It can cause pain, difficulty eating and sleeping, and may make people feel unhappy about their appearance. So there you go. So
I'm missing teeth.
You're missing teeth, yeah. So, self-esteem issues, stuff like mental health issues as well. People not having insecurities, a range of different things. So in Australia, dental health has improved since water fluoridation began in the 1950s. Now, this is interesting. Compared to their parents' generation, Australians born after 1970, when the majority of water fluoridation programs commenced in Australia, have about half the level of tooth decay.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
But is that just a correlation thing, or do they think that's a causative relationship too? Because surely dentists and dental hygiene and that sort of stuff's improved. over that 20
Absolutely.
years.
No, absolutely.
Dentist visits.
But even a study from the University of Sydney in 2016, they actually looked at an evidence evaluation report of the 2007 National Health and Medical Research Council study.
Okay.
Okay, and they said that these findings are backed up by a large-scale. The evidence collected in this review supports the findings of the previous NHMRC review in 2007 that water fluoridations at levels comparable to those in Australia reduces the incidence of dental caries in deciduous and permanent teeth children by about approximately 35% compared
that's
to
cool.
unfluoridated water. Now, it's kind of interesting. Water fluoridation also increases the proportion of children who have no dental caries by approximately 15%.
Oh, wow. So there's actually health benefits for people who not only may have had cavities and problems with the teeth, but also those that didn't. They've still got overall better dental health as well.
Exactly. Now, remember before you were telling me about the dots
So it
on
goes
your...
beyond the basic just fluoridation.
Exactly.
So even if you take good care of your teeth, your health is actually improved anyway by, what was it, 15%?
Yeah, 15%, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it means that you're less likely to have any
It's actually
kind
pretty
of...
solid. That's a pretty all-encompassing health benefit for a society.
It's one of the best health initiatives, like vaccines, taken in modern times. But people are like, but it's a chemical. Shut the fuck up. But here's the thing. You know, you talking about a spot on your tooth before?
Yep.
So that's actually due to the fluoride. It could be due to fluoride in water. I'm not a doctor. You're best to go see a doctor about that.
Could be to do with the 4 beers I've had before this episode as well.
Any amount of Diet Coke I've been drinking.
Yeah.
So fluoridation of water at levels comparable, so that used in Australia increases the prevalence of dental fluorosis. Okay? So dental fluorosis is kind of, they reckon it's about 12% of people suffer from dental fluorosis when it's generally about 0.7 parts per million. Okay? So you do get this type of thing, and that's just the spottiness on the teeth, a white spot. So you see someone with white spots on their teeth, okay, they're obviously dental fluorosis when the colour kind of starts to come in your teeth, and it's like a paper white kind of
yeah, okay. Oh, I know what you're talking about now, yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting because now even the American Academy of Pediatrics are kind of saying to people, look, they've had to come out now and make a statement. This is how fucking stupid it is. They've had to come out now and make a statement about fluoride and say, look, we recommend fluoridated toothpaste, okay, as soon as tooth eruption occurs.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so what they say is a smear about the size of a grain of rice of toothpaste should be used up to age 3. So as soon as that tooth is prevalent, they should be putting kind of some sort of
some small amount in there.
Some small amount just to kind of assist the growth, and not assist the growth, but just to protect it as it grows.
Help harden the enamel and
all
protect
that
the
type
tooth,
of
all the
stuff.
soft
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Fluoride varnish is recommended in the primary care setting, so every 3 to 6 months. So starting at tooth immersion, so even then, as early as 3 months, they're saying, "Hey, let's protect these teeth." So it's really, really interesting. Now, over-the-counter fluoride rinse is not recommended for children younger than 6 years of age, due to the risk of them swallowing higher than recommended levels of fluoride. Okay, so they don't want the kids drinking the fluoride, the mouthwash and stuff like that. So the fluoride.
Who's drinking the mouthwash except for like old drunks?
I don't know, but it's actually the fluoride rinse. So they don't, just out of fear that they've drunk it again, they've drunk it again, they've drunk it again.
Stop drinking the mouthwash, kid.
Exactly. But all in all,
sure, they've got bigger problems if you drink mouthwash than the fluoride in it.
So, but generally speaking, though, they're saying, look,
minty farts, though. Minty farts, I reckon.
We'd have to.
Let's do an experiment.
Let's do an experiment. Bird, come smell this. Put your head under the cover. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because even now they're saying, look, once again, yeah, we know it's a chemical. We know that you have to, but if you're smart about the intake of the chemical, then it's actually very beneficial for your health.
Yeah.
So this is where, an understanding of science and just dosage and all the different aspects about, you know, toxicity and stuff like that come into play. If you understand this basic kind of concept, then you're better off for it.
Yeah.
Your health is better off for it. Your children's health are better off for it.
Yeah.
But it's all about just taking
Your
the
hip
time.
pocket's better off for it.
Your hip pocket's better off for it too. So, but I was having a look and I thought to myself, well, fluoride is a naturally occurring chemical.
It is in nature. It's pretty common. It's quite a reactive chemical.
Yeah.
So it's quite able to bond with a lot of things.
I thought to myself, well, obviously then we must be exposed to it somehow. Okay? Which is kind of interesting because, as we know, it's a naturally occurring chemical. It's found in rocks. Okay? And it actually leaches into groundwater.
Yeah,
So some actual groundwater actually already has enough fluoride in it. And it's kind of interesting because the natural level of fluoride in water varies. Obviously, it depends on the type of water, so groundwater or surface water, and also the types of rocks and minerals and all that type of stuff. But
well, fluoride is the most electronegative atom, which is a fancy way of saying is it's really, really reactive. It's quite happy to bond with other atoms all over the place.
Ocean water actually has about 1 parts per million of fluoride, and it's kind of interesting because that's about the same as fluoridated drinking water in Australia.
Okay.
So even ocean water. Now, there are even some places in Australia where there's the naturally occurring fluoride in water is actually perfect.
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah, places like Portland and Port Fairy, I'm sure you've been around there a fair bit. In Victoria, they actually have naturally occurring fluoride in water that's about 0.7 to 1 parts per million, which is perfect, the perfect amount. So, yeah, how cool is
I
that?
actually have been to those places, but yeah, that is pretty cool.
I wore fairy wings. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's...
I wonder if the Indigenous Australians living around those parts just generally had better dental health than, say, the Indigenous Australians living in the other parts of Australia. We won't know because white Australians came here and basically killed all of them, so I guess we'll never know.
That is true. But as well, you still need to obviously brush your teeth to remove plaque and things like that as well. So that's another thing, you know, like it's not just, there's fluoride in water, I don't need to brush my teeth, there's fluoride
Just
in
drink
this.
tap water.
Just drink tap water, I'm sweet. No, you need to get in there and remove the plaque, floss and things like that as well. I assume would be beneficial. Once again, not a dentist. I don't want to give false information, but I'm pretty sure brushing your teeth helps preserve them. All right, so next chemical. This is a chemical I've studied a bit, actually. Lead.
Lead. I remember we did an episode on Thomas Midgley. We talked about lead a little bit here, but we're not talking about that.
Prick.
Not talking about the unfortunate life of Thomas Midgley.
Yeah,
go and check out that episode. Interesting guy.
He kind of deserved the end of the day because he hid his findings.
Yeah.
He hid, like, he put all this stuff in and he hid it.
Yeah.
Like, he knew that, you know, he was getting,
Bit of a cheeky bastard. So what you're talking about here is lead itself. So
lead itself. So
is it like fluoride? Do we need any lead?
No. In fact, the World Health Organization came out recently and said there is no safe level of lead. So there is no recommended level of lead. So with fluoride's a bit different. See, fluoride's a chemical which is actually okay to have in small, you know, in the recommended doses because it actually helps prevent tooth decay. Lead does nothing good for us. It's a shit chemical.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I'm sure it's got its uses, you know, use plastics and things like that. But in regards to our health, in regards to our health, no.
Don't eat lead.
Don't eat lead. Yeah, that's thanks. Good night. No. So it's actually an accumulative toxin as well. So your body doesn't get rid of it.
So it just builds up in you over your lifetime.
Yeah, because what it actually does is lead 2+, so Pb2+. Would you like to explain to the listeners what 2+ means?
2+ means that there are basically 2 extra protons than there are electrons in the lead ion with the charged particles. So it's got room for 2 electrons when it bonds with things. It's looking for a pairing of 2 extra electrons.
Well, what's actually interesting is the lead 2+ actually mimics what the calcium 2+ does in children.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
that's pretty important for bone development and things like that. Calcium is a very important chemical.
Exactly. So it actually mimics that. So, and as well, the everyday dealings of children. So they're a lot of hand to mouth. So if they're playing in a sandpit and things like that, and they're exposed to more lead, why do you think they'd be exposed to lead even in their backyards?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say emissions, gases in the air, and maybe settling.
Yep. So
did I get it?
Pew 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 pew. That's exactly right. So What's happening is the way that they assess it is actually in the human blood. Now, if you go to places where there's high density, kind of,
This is sort of the stuff you were looking at in your postgrad, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Okay.
I was looking at like how we monitor air pollution and the effective ways of monitoring the changes in air pollution due to weather and stuff like that. So that's That's I was particularly looking at Mount Isa.
That's up
where the lead
Queensland
smelter is
for
up there.
US lead smelter, so they got a bit of lead hanging
Oh,
around
there's a
there.
bit of lead around there, yeah. But I was looking at the National Pollutant Inventory, which is the way we monitor pollutants. But story for another time. Anyway, so what's interesting is that even like in places near the city, okay, so high kind of it's still suburban, but even just where there was a lot of traffic. If you actually look at the soils around those areas, they actually still contain a lot of lead. Why would those soils around those busy areas contain a lot of lead?
Is it same again? Is it the car emissions or anything
Car
like that?
emissions, when they used to have lead in petrol.
I think when did leaded petrol go out? Like the 90s, something like that. I think.
No, it's actually the last when it became banned in Australia was somewhere between 2000 and 2002. So as late as that.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, and that lead still remains in the soils around these places.
Yeah, because lead, as you know, is very unreactive.
Yeah, it is.
Chemical in regards to just pure lead, it's very unreactive. Now, if it gets the human body, that lead 2+, well then that mimics other chemicals. And it's a cumulative chemical, obviously it builds up over time. And even growing things like veggie patches and stuff like that, they have found that there's lead in the food. Now, they've actually done studies.
Wow, okay, yeah, the lead ion likes to grab things and not let go.
Yeah, Professor Mark Taylor from Macquarie University, he actually looked at children living in the kind of near the city in suburban areas, their lead levels, and their lead levels are quite high, to about, I think it's 10 micrograms per deciliter or something like that, from memory. But regardless, their levels were significantly high, well above the recommended maximum levels.
No, it's just like blood tests and things like that.
Yeah, so they do it via blood tests and things like that. So, which is kind of, the interesting thing is lead poisoning is entirely preventable.
Okay.
Because if you stop
It's kind of relieving to know.
Yeah, well, if you stop putting lead in things, and you can avoid it if you wash your hands, like there's, getting your soil tests and stuff like that. So there are ways of avoiding it. It's not like, oh no, it's a naturally occurring thing, so therefore...
So all the lead in the environment's really been put there by us, or most of it's been put there, the dangerous bits of lead.
No, there's naturally occurring lead.
Okay.
But generally, like if you live near the city and you've got a higher lead concentration in your soil and stuff like that, well then, yeah.
Okay.
Certain things just like wiping windows down for people who live in certain areas. Even in like lead smeltering towns, stuff like that, they actually have a warning sent to people's phones if the emissions cross the town from the lead smelter and stuff like that. So actually send, I know, it's shit, man. It's dodgy as all hell.
Maybe you should think about getting out of town. There's a toxic cloud heading your way.
Well, even the way they present the information to the public is very questionable, because they'll give them yearly averages. Okay, so during certain parts of the month, you have the northwestern winds, like for instance Mount Isa. You have the northwestern winds coming down, which is a mining town in Queensland. You have the certain winds, the northwestern winds blowing in, and it actually blows the emissions across town. So there are certain parts of the year where lead levels will skyrocket and then they'll drop again. But if you present it to the public as a yearly average, well, then you actually are below the recommended level. So
wow, okay.
Even the way they present the information to the public is questionable, or just the nation itself.
Skewed, not entirely accurate.
I know. Now they predict, so the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, HME, has estimated that in 2013, lead exposure accounted for, get this, 853,000 deaths due to long-term effects on health, with the highest burden in low and middle income countries.
So that's worldwide. Just shy of 1 million people are dying because of lead poisoning, cumulative effects of it. That's kind of sad, especially when you say it's quite easily preventable by just not using lead shit.
Yeah. Here's another one. So the same organisation also estimated that lead exposure accounted for 9.3% of the global burden of idiopathic intellectual disability. That's just mental retardation. 4% of the global burden of certain types of heart disease, such as ischemic heart disease, and 6.6% of the global burden of stroke.
Holy shit.
It's bad, man.
That's quite
It's
a bit.
Really
I knew lead
bad.
was like a neurotoxin and everything, but it's affecting the heart disease, which is the biggest killer in our country, and I assume the US as well. There's a lot of fatties over there. And
Jesus.
tell me I'm wrong.
Keep going.
And also, like, it goes beyond the brain. I thought it was really more of a brain thing. So you said there's a significant impact on the brain, but also on the heart and the lungs as well.
Yeah, so it affects it and the bones as well. And so what's interesting, get this, in 1993, they decided, right? So at the moment, okay, so the NHMRC, okay, they've lowered the level or lowering the level of lead in children's blood at which the source of exposure to be investigated from 10 to 5 micrograms per deciliter. Okay, so they're actually saying, hang on, this stuff is bad. We're going from 10, we're actually going to halve it to 5. And if children are experiencing 5%, okay, this is in Australia, by the way.
5 micrograms per deciliter.
5 micrograms per deciliter, so 50% reduction. Then we need to actually have a look at this. This will trigger investigation. Now, get this. In 1993, however, they went from 25 micrograms per deciliter to 10 micrograms per deciliter.
So it's been dropping for a couple of decades now.
Now, it's interesting because Mark Taylor, who's a lead expert, is one of the leading kind of experts on lead in Australia. He wrote a conversation article and he wrote that this has taken too long, that this is ridiculous. You go from 25 and now only recently, or you're thinking of dropping it down to 5. Like, how long's that taken? We've known the effects of lead for so long.
Yeah.
So
is the point of it keeping up at that, or the reason it has taken long, is because we do gain a net economic benefit? Is that the crux of it?
I don't know. It very well could be. Like, you think about mining towns, like, they're not going to like being told that the company
the primary industry
there is poisoning the local population. That's one of the reasons why we're having issues with climate change science at the moment. Not the issues, but people actually accepting it. Now, it's interesting because even in 2008, okay, a study of a small cohort of children in Sydney showed 7.5% had a lead level more than 10 micrograms per deciliter. Now, if that number reflects what's going on in Sydney, then we're not doing a very good job.
No, okay? Yeah, I'd want to look more into that.
You look at in mining towns such as Port Perry and Mount Isa, which is in Australia, they are even worse. So lead is a massive issue that a lot of people think, oh yeah, I know lead's bad for you. It's like, yeah, but I don't think people quite understand the magnitude of how bad we're finding out lead is for you. And I really thought, and I think we both thought it was really important that we look at this issue, because a lot of the time it's like, oh, the Chemikillz, and this. But with lead, it's like, no, this shit is fucking bad. Like, this stuff is bad. Because
don't worry about fluoride. If you want to worry about something, let's look at lead.
Well, what we have to be careful of in the skeptical community is that we don't just write off. Oh no, don't idiots. Chemicals because. Something like lead, it's like, no, this is fucking stuff's terrible.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Now, my next one is formaldehyde.
I like formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde.
It's delicious. No. Use it quite a bit in biology. I think it's a really important chemical.
Yeah, so it's used in like preserving biological samples, like tissue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, in regarding, like, it's primarily...
That's a bit of an old school preservation technique.
Now it's ethanol, isn't it?
No, ethanol's, I think, even older again. No, we use different things. There's different methods like plastification we use now that are similar derivatives of formaldehyde we use, which are better preserving agents. Because the problem with formaldehyde is that not only it preserves stuff, but it also broke down stuff too. So your preserved specimens would slowly degrade over time as well.
Interesting. Okay. Because with
but
formaldehyde,
it is an extremely useful preserving agent.
Can you think of any reason why people don't like formaldehyde? Certain groups of people.
Oh, vaccines.
Yeah. Now,
always pops up. Anti-vaxxers. But it's got formaldehyde in it.
So what I thought I'd do is I thought I would give the listeners a bit of kind of information about how much formaldehyde they are actually exposed to. Okay? So, all right. Here it is. So I'll first start. So in regards to vaccines and stuff like that, formaldehyde's actually used in the preparation, okay, to kill viruses or inactivate kind of proteins, all right? And so meaning that it's not used in all vaccines, it's only used in some.
Yeah, okay.
So there's still some that's actually formaldehyde's actually used in. Now, obviously some of it's left over and it's found in vaccines. So there's a lot of misconceptions about the level of exposure, okay, to formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Now, so put it this way. So, for example, if you were to drink embalming fluid, so stuff that they use to preserve tissue, yeah, you're probably fucking going to get sick. But I think you've got more issues to worry about because, hey, you've just drank, okay, some sort of preserving oil.
It's going to wipe out all of your microfluid. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just I think you've got more issues to worry about than vaccines. Now, in vaccines, there's 0.1 milligrams per dose.
If you do drink that, though, you probably save the embalming agent or the funeral director a lot of problems.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't smell as bad, too, would
Yeah,
you?
no, probably not. Yeah, you're right.
Your dead body wouldn't smell as bad because you wouldn't have all the gas and...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So if you're going to go out, think of your funeral director.
Think
Drink some embalming fluid.
Think of the poor people that have to preserve your body. Now, in vaccines, there's 0.1 milligrams per dose. Now, to give you an idea... One apple contains about 1 to 6 grams, okay, of formaldehyde. Now, here's the interesting thing that I didn't know. You also make formaldehyde. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember how much. I knew we made formaldehyde, which is one of those stupid vaccine arguments I've read about.
Yeah, it's used,
I didn't know how much was in apples, though. That's
it's
pretty
actually
amazing.
used in normal metabolism, and it's it helps you synthesize amino acids and stuff like that. I had no idea. I'm like, what? Now, here's the crazy thing, right? So it's about 2.5 milligrams of formaldehyde for every liter of your blood. So even a 2-month-old child has around 1.1 milligrams of formaldehyde in its body, okay, just from normal metabolism. Now that's 10 times more than the maximum possible dose they could get from vaccines. So even your body's producing more formaldehyde than what you're going to get from vaccine. 10 times. A little baby.
And your body is
10 times.
Quite capable of breaking down formaldehyde too.
Exactly. And
It's not like lead.
It's exactly. But eating an apple, 1 to 6 grams of formaldehyde. That's incredible.
You will survive. Formaldehyde is not a worry.
No, and that's one of the
Just
things.
don't drink embalming fluid.
Just don't drink embalming fluid. But, it's nice and thoughtful of you to think about that. But, to kind of prevent the poor coroner.
Have you ever opened a specimen jar? They do not smell appetizing.
Oh, don't they?
No, I would not be the one drinking. I don't know who would ever want to drink that shit.
But with the embalming fluid, though, is it the embalming fluid that stinks, or is it just the decay of the organism?
Ooh, good question. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's a good one.
There you go. So we've had a look at something like formaldehyde, which is just so common that it's just people are just kicking up a stink
It's a
about
product
that.
of biology.
I know.
Really
I know,
common.
I
Yeah.
know. And then as well, we had a look at lead, obviously quite toxic, and then we had a look at fluoride in water, which I really
Sort of somewhere in the middle, I guess.
yeah. I really kind of wanted to give the listeners a scope of the chemicals, because one thing that I think happens a lot is, especially in us as skeptics, we can go, oh, idiots, Diet Coke, whatever. Chemicals in that cause this and that. It's no, they don't. You're an idiot. And a lot of the time, aspartame. And a lot of time, we can kind of just disregard chemicals. But there are chemicals out there that will fucking kill you. They will cause all sorts of problems. So you do need to be careful.
Quite often it's the dosage, not the chemical, that will kill you.
That's exactly right. It's
I
the
think
dosage.
I think you got that point really well across there, Wade. Well done.
Thanks, Bern. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's always nice.
You had all the right units in there and everything. It was well researched. It was an unusual episode for you.
It was well, the only thing was lead. I'm got it. This is sweet. Formaldehyde, I know a little bit of vaccines and stuff like that. So, but fluoride and water was really interesting. So thank you, Craig, for that suggestion on that episode. We appreciate it.
All right, now if you want to check out some of our other episodes, please check us out on Podbean or iTunes or Stitcher.
Yeah, please leave a review, guys. It's very important we get reviews in. Very, very important, because that obviously helps, people kind of convince them to come along to the show and stuff like that as well. And and so if you'd like to become a Patreon member, just visit patreon.com/Sci-gasm podcast.
I believe that's it. Yeah, something like that.
And so you can search us up there, and for just $1 to $2 a week, you can actually help us out. Even just an episode. We haven't even charged our Patreons yet because, well, we want to thank them for just saying, look, even just the intent of putting money forward to help us kind of.
It's very flattering.
It is flattering, and
you do get exclusive content as well.
You do exclusive content. You'll get us reviewing the weird parts of the internet. And as well, you'll also get to become a member of our Sci-Holes group. So make sure you get on it, guys. Please help us out, and we can continue to produce questionably good content. Thanks, guys.